God, how about a shocker down in Gainesville, Cole? Texas loses to Florida by 8. Again, I don't know that this game was as close as the final score maybe indicated. Little bit of a comeback for Texas. Never really felt like they had a shot, though. And Florida wins in, I don't know if it saved Napier's job or not. They probably need to win again Saturday against A&M. But they can't fire him now. You know, like Tom, I don't think when you were saying that they would fire him, you were expecting them to beat.
I was expecting it yesterday. I was expecting them to lose. And like, I don't think this completely saves his job. It's a stay of execution. That's about it.
What gets really crazy is if they win in College Station, which we'll talk about that game on Wednesday, but it gets really weird for the Florida fans who are like, you know, the meme of the guy that's got 2 buttons to push. Do we want to see us beat Texas or do we want to fire? Like, what the hell do we do if they beat A&M? But before we get to that game, Cole, talk about the SEC shocker on Saturday.
For starters, I apologize to the city of Gainesville for selling my stock on my preseason pick well before this game actually unfolded. Because remember, I said this was going to be one of Texas' losses. And then I saw the season. I was like, you know what? We got to go ahead and sell it. You know who Billy Napier reminds me of? You guys ever seen the movie Monty Python and the Quest for the Holy Grail? He is the Black Knight. Literally, they cut off every single limb. But he refuses to quit. It's just a flesh wound. Come on, you pansy. Come on, I'll bite your legs off. That is Florida underneath Billy Napier. Because if they refuse to die, and when they're wounded, backs against the wall, basically entering the fight or flight mode, they fight and they win. I give a lot of credit to Billy because you want to know what Billy did? He looked at what went wrong in those games against South Florida, Miami, LSU, and said, we got to make a change during the bye week. So what are we going to do? Well, Texas has one of the best run defenses in college football. You know what? Screw it. We barely ran Jaden Baugh against LSU. We barely ran him against Miami. Let's go ahead and tell him, hey, dude, run it 27 times for 107 yards and push it down their throat. Let's go trust the best part of our team and actually use this to our advantage. So what did that do? Well, it forced you to have to start playing in the box. Texas fell for the bait. They started to line up somebody closer to the line of scrimmage, and then the explosive plays happened. I'm pissed off right now for another reason because Dallas Fulton at the start of the year was my pick to be this season's Ryan Williams. Before Malachi Toney decided to take on over the Sunshine State, I said that number 6 down in Gainesville, Florida was going to be the name that everybody was going to be talking about as a difference maker. And you want to know what? On Saturday, he was. Welcome back to the SEC after having an incredible spring. You picked up where you left off. 6 catches, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day, including what had to be, in my opinion, the play of the afternoon, 55-yard score to balance that line and be able to win against 2 great defenders and just throw them off of you. He was making veteran plays. Having him was so beneficial, I think, for DJ Lagway. It was beneficial for the passing attack to pair alongside with Vernell Brown. Florida, they had a day. And you got to give a lot of credit to them. They won in all 3 areas that are so important. They won in time of possession, 34 minutes. They won in the turnover battle. They were the fewer penalized team. They outgained them 457 to 341. They were better on third down execution. They had 6 more first down conversions. I mean, everything that you want to see from Florida that kind of made you go, this is why I can believe a 9-3 season is about to unfold. Okay, it was on display. And I do want to ask you guys this. Remember that DJ Lagway did not have a spring practice. He was very limited in fall camp because of the shoulder injury. I think a lot of us sold our stock on Lagway for who he is and saying that he was just going to be a bum because if he wasn't caught up to speed. You caught up to speed now. The problem is it may be too late. And I will say, Tom, you weren't entirely wrong. I spoke to some people out of Florida. There were many fine folk who said if this is going to be a blowout, your prediction was going to be right. And on October 5th, we would have been talking about a new head coach taking on over in Gainesville for 2025. The writing is still on the wall, according to people that I've spoken to.
Yeah.
He's not going to be the coach there long term. I think, if anything, what this has shown is that he is a good enough coach to remain a head coach when he is inevitably let go. And some G5 program is going to be very lucky to land a guy who knows how to develop talent to a level to where it's more so on an even playing field. And so, Florida, you kind of hit pause right now on everything that we envision about you. You get back to square one. For Texas, oh boy. Okay. I mean, as bad as Penn State was, I'm not trying to go ahead and delay the inevitable of what we're going to talk about next. This is really embarrassing for a lot of reasons. Number one, Texas, the entire offseason, we talked about them having an offensive line that we could trust was going to be as advertised because of the way that Kyle Flood has developed offensive line play. They are awful. I mean, it is so dreadful. We can put a lot of blame on Arch. He has no time to throw. They can't run the football. Arch led the team in rushing yards with 37. He had it 15 times, 37 yards, 15 times. That's inexcusable. Wide receivers were dropping balls left and right. The overshots down the field because of Arch didn't have time to plant his feet and deliver strikes. That became a problem. There were plays to where the explosives from Florida's offense got after Texas's defense, and it showed some lapses that were definitely a hinge point that allowed Florida to be able to capitalize. I think the part that's really important here, though, is that Texas at this point now is sitting at 3-2. Like, as much as we can say, well, the best is still ahead for them. They're anything more than 7-5 level of, well, we overhyped Arch Manning in the public eye. I mean, Paul Feinbaum could not get enough of slobbering all over that man, but still, you talk about, and we can talk about him in a little bit. Still, he's not meeting expectations for what the common fan is saying right now. But it's not just on him. The play calling has been pedestrian at best. You're not seeing the growth and maturity, I think, from Ryan Wingo. Emmett Mosley had a decent day, but he didn't have as good a day as we expected. Jack Endries barely got involved in the passing attack. So, I mean, there's things that when you look at Texas, it feels inexcusable. It also doesn't feel correctable. I mean, you're not going to be able to go into this offensive line and say, hey, DJ Campbell, you're a full-time starter. Everybody else we're replacing with the backups, because the backups are certainly a backup for a reason. They're not as good as the starters. And if these are the starters, they're going to get mollywopped by multiple teams moving forward. You can't run the football with Trey Wisner. You still don't have CJ Baxter back at full speed, so that's hurting your overall run game. And you got a matchup down in Dallas against a pissed-off Oklahoma team that in Red River, crazier things have happened. We have seen this game go down to the wire where the worst team ends up coming out on top. But right now, Oklahoma wants to make sure that they send a statement going into the second half of the season. We mean business as a legit threat to go to the college football playoff and that we're a good team. And Texas right now does not have a lot of answers. I mean, I'll give a lot of credit to Florida. They have a good defense. They have a very good defense. Oklahoma has a better one.
Yeah.
And they shut down Texas offensively. And they have a much better secondary and a much better pass rush and a much better defensive line. And there's a lot of things that you have 6 days to figure out that probably take 2 months to actually master.
I'll get right back to the video, but first, let me tell you about Sleeper's brand new promotion. We've been telling you guys about them for over a month now, but if you've been waiting to deposit because you're cheap like me or just don't want to put money in, you don't have to wait anymore. Sleeper will offer you a free $20 right now with no deposit required. Use our code CFA for a free $20 entry. First-time users still get that 100% deposit match up to $100, but if you've been waiting to deposit, you can go play right away. We'll talk about Sleeper more on our Wednesday live on the Power 2 when we play the more or less game before this weekend's action. Make sure to check out Sleeper's terms of use because terms and conditions do apply, but appreciate Sleeper for their support. Run and get your free $20 right now by using our code CFA.
Looking at this game overall, man, like, do we pin, how much of this do we pin on like Arch Manning? I don't think much. And I think you have to start asking. I think you start have to asking the question, Cole, is his supporting cast any better than he is? Because right now at pass catcher, the answer is no. It seems like a kind of pedestrian group, like with high ceilings, but probably hasn't been realized yet. You average 2 yards per carry. You have no running game. You're putting everything on a quarterback who is clearly still developing. Texas has to figure out something running the football. You can't put this entire thing on Arch Manning and expect him to do what Nico Iamaleava did against Penn State this past weekend. You can't expect him to be the leading rusher and your primary reason why the passing game does anything. I just think there's way too much being put on Arch Manning. Credit to Florida, seriously, being able to bounce back. And it's the one thing we've talked about on this show this entire season with Florida is that it has never appeared that they have quit. They've always appeared to be a team that's invested and is giving 100%, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And a shocker that if you get Jaden Ball the ball 30 times and you kind of piece together what felt like kind of an old Wisconsin or Michigan State offense where it was like, hey, Le'Veon Bell's standing right there. We'll give him the ball 25 times. We'll try and get it to him 5 times in the passing game. That's our best player. We have to get him the football. It made things easier for DJ Lagway in this game. Granted, not a game without mistakes on either side. Tons of penalties in this game. So both sides have a lot to get cleaned up. But there's hope for Florida. Texas, meanwhile, like my Nittany Lions, unranked and have a lot to prove to anybody. And I will ask this question because we were touching on it with Miami a moment ago. Is Ohio State's resume that much better than Miami's that they deserve to be number one over the Hurricanes?
I don't think it's not just that much better. It's not better at all.
It's nowhere near better.
They're getting the benefit of winning the national championship last year, which is fine with me. Like like if that's the way you want to do it. I mean, Florida State fans whined and moaned when Mississippi State jumped them in 2014. Right? Florida State didn't look like very good. They were having to come back every game, but they whined and bitched and moaned and complained about that. And so, like, I get it. If you want to keep them at 1 until they lose, like, I don't have a huge problem with that. But they've not been as impressive as Miami. Like we said, I'm a Florida State guy. And I'm glad we only lost by 6, but like they could have lost by 30. You know, Miami was very impressive on Saturday night, and they've been very impressive.
And now the Florida win looks better. I mean, the Miami win over Florida looks a lot better.
USF is ranked.
For me, the big thing is the Washington game looks like the best win for Ohio State at this point, more so than the Texas game. Because Washington was able to respond on the road and get a comeback win against Maryland. So that ends up strengthening the resume in their standpoint. Before we move on from this game, I do want to say 2 things. Number one, I still think Arch can figure things out. I'm not ready to go ahead and sell my entire stock. Again, there's a lot of things that need to change, including him probably coming back next year, which is big. But number 2, and I'm going to gloat for about 5 seconds. I don't like doing this. I really don't.
I don't mind it, Cole. Go ahead.
But I dealt with so many Texas fans, so many people in the public eye calling me an idiot. Word that I'm not going to say on air because if I don't want to be the FCC regulation, multiple derogatory slurs about my defense when it came to Quinn Ewers staying as the quarterback last season in the starting role. Are we ready to go ahead and apologize to me? Because I kept saying Sark was making the right call, leaving out Quinn Ewers and only having Arch play a certain number of reps. We ready to go ahead and start listening in on that? Maybe Sark knows a couple things that we don't know as behind closed doors that we got to figure out. Because there's certainly right now, I think that Quinn Ewers would have at least won the football game yesterday on Saturday. And tell you what, if he came back for another year, he probably would have at least made it a 4-quarter battle, and it would have been more promising against Ohio State. I can tell you that much. The other thing, though, I will say is that Sark, the thing that you got to do this offseason, what Billy Napier should have done this offseason, you got to hire a play caller. At this point, as a head coach, you have earned the right to be proven as a guy that can lead a program. But you have put Arch in a position where now he has to win football games. Again, I agree with Tom. Like, I'll say that 25%, maybe 20% at least is on Arch because he had 2 bad interceptions. And there were some things to where, he was making some terrible reads and overshots down the field. But you were playing with the 2-possession differential. You couldn't run the football at that point. You said you have got to throw the football. Like, we can only win one way. You're putting him in a position to where he can't have success. So you got to get a play caller in there. And honestly, if I am Texas, I'm kind of telling you, we will give you an extra $5 million. That $3 million of which is going towards hiring an OC and somebody that can actually control the playbook.
Cole, I just want your quick thought on this. We'll preview both these games next week. Who has a better chance to win on Saturday? Texas in the Red River or Florida in Kyle Station?
Well, for starters, Kyle Field
in College Station. I tried to make that really smooth.
I don't know. I don't because here's the thing. Texas A&M and Miami have done so many things this year where they've crossed off all the red flags that I usually have with them to where I feel like that they've turned the corner. And as a doubting, battered Aggie syndrome aficionado, I can't do it anymore. But now that I can't do it anymore, it's like the perfect time for the other shoe to drop, and Florida continues its pathway onto getting more wins. And I could see it happening. I really could. The thing with Red River is, and this is somebody that grew up in the state and has gone to multiple Red River battles and multiple shootouts, multiple times in the Cotton Bowl, and I love it. I think it's, in my opinion, the greatest rivalry in sports. I really do. It's right up there with the Iron Bowl. It's right up there with the game. I've seen weird shit happen. I mean, it just is one of those matchups where if you get your quarterback rolling and you get a couple of big time shots and a bad break go in favor of you, you come away with the win. So it's like, that's not a fair game to say. If you said Arkansas, I would say probably Florida. If you said Mississippi State coming off of a loss, but they feel like that they've improved, I could say Florida. It's one of those things where I'll go Texas only because of it's Red River. I mean, it's a rivalry to where everything that you think you know about that game, here, hi, this is the playbook. Look at it. Ready? Here's what you know about Texas and Florida and Oklahoma up to this point. Throw it away because it doesn't matter. It's not real. Like, that's what that game is every single year.
Mateer's health also impacts it. If Mateer was 100%, I would say Florida has a bigger chance to win in Kyle Field than the inverse. I think that injury to maybe the best quarterback in the game. Well, I don't know if I'd go that far, but
I would say the one that you trust the most right now.
Yeah, it's a little tougher for Oklahoma, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if we saw Oklahoma and Texas A&M both win this weekend. So